first of all, we'll take a look at what volume actually is and how you work out a volume for a cuboid. If we have our cuboid, there are three lengths we use in order to work out the volume: the length, the width, and the height. Now, when we work out the volume of a cuboid, we simply multiply the length by the width by the height, which is sometimes abbreviated to the formula V equals LWH. When it comes to working out the volume of a prism, we work out what's called the area of the cross section and multiply it by the length. So when we calculate the volume of any prism, you first work out the area of the shape that's on the end and then multiply that by the length. So essentially, when we work out the volume of a cuboid or a prism, we work out that area on the end of the shape and multiply it by the length. So a very simple example using a cuboid. If I have my cuboid here and this length is 5 centimeters and this length 5 centimeters and this length here is 10 centimeters, our volume for this cuboid would quite simply be 5 times 5 times 10, which gives us 250. Now, you should all be aware that the units we use in volume are units cubed. So in this case, our units would be centimeters cubed. Let's have a look at another example, but this time with a prism, which essentially is just a shape in 3 dimensions that isn't a cuboid. So we can have triangular prisms, we can have trapezoidal prisms, which is a trapezium on the end of the shape, or a cylinder, which has a circle on the end, and so on. In this question, we're looking at a triangular prism, and they want us to calculate the volume of this. So remember, all we have to do is work out the area of that shape on the end and multiply by the length. So the area of that triangle, or the area of a triangle, is half times the base times the height, and half times 4 times 6 gives us 12, and remember, that would be centimeters squared. That's the area of the triangle on the end. Now, to work out the volume, I then have to take that 12 and multiply it by the 12 centimeters that is the length of that shape. And that gives me an answer of 144. But remember, my units will change to centimeters cubed. If we take a look at an example of a trapezoidal prism here, the method is exactly the same. We're going to work out the area of the shape on the end first and then multiply it by the length. So remember, when we work out the area of a trapezium, it's half times the 2 parallel sides added together multiplied by the height. So in this case, it will be a half multiplied by our 2 parallel sides, which are 3 and 5, multiplied by the height of our trapezium, which is 3. So that would give me an answer of, when we work it out, half times 8 times 3, 12 centimeters squared. So the area of that trapezium on the end is 12 centimeters squared. Just as we did before, we now multiply it by the length in order to get the volume, and 12 times 11 is 132, and remember, once again, it's centimeters cubed. So let's look now at a special prism that you need to know the specific formula for working out the volume of, and that's a cylinder. Using the same concept of multiplying the cross-section area by the length, the volume of a cylinder is given by this formula: V equals pi r squared L. Now notice that pi r squared is the area of that circle on the end, and the L corresponds to the length that we multiply by in order to turn it into a volume. So if we wish to work out the volume of this cylinder here, which has a radius, we can see, of 4 centimeters and a length of 8 centimeters, the calculation we're going to do, remember, the formula is the volume is pi r squared L. Pi, unless they specify otherwise, we'll use on our calculator, multiplied by the radius squared, 4 squared, multiplied by the length of the cylinder, which is 8. Then, when we calculate that that's going to give us straight away our volume, which to 2 decimal places would be 402.12 centimetres cubed.